Welcome to the AG News Show. I am your host, Roberto Alvarez-Galloso, serving you the best. Serving you the best in music from different artists, from different areas in life. I have the pleasure and honor of having with me one of the greatest organists and experts in Baroque and Renaissance music. We have had her before in our program, and it is a pleasure and an honor to have her in our program. Her name is Whitney Maslak, and she recorded an album. 1 minute, let's get started here. 1 minute, just see, 1 minute. 1 minute, it's just, yep. We have Whitney Maslak here, and we're promoting her latest album, Love Divine, All Love's Excelling. I'm just trying to get her in the program. Let's see. No, this is not helping. Okay, we're going to invite her, and we're going to be transmitting with her. Hello, Whitney.
Hi, how are you?
For me, it is a pleasure and an honor to have you in our program again, because it's always a great pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me on again.
For me, it's a pleasure and an honor. One of the reasons why we invited you here is not only because you're one of the greatest experts in Renaissance and Baroque music, but also because you have recorded a great CD. Love Divine, All Love's Excelling. I heard the CD. And it is very, 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 very beautiful. Relaxing.
Thank you.
We need this type of music. We need it. My first question is, what inspired you to record such a beautiful CD?
Well, I was trying to kind of decide on what kind of music to do, because when you look at sacred music and church music, there's so many different types of music within that genre, I guess. So you could do, like Gregorian chant or early music, or you could do, kind of more classical music like the sacred arias. And then there's so many good hymns. And I decided to go with hymns because I thought that would probably appeal to the most people out there. And I'm a church organist, and so it was really easy for me to pick the hymns, that I love and that mean a lot to me, so it was really fun to be able to record it. And I actually discovered like a few of the tracks on this album. I only discovered them like a few months ago as I was planning the album. So it was really fun as I was planning it. I'd go and listen to a bunch of hymns, and then once in a while I'd find one that I'd say, whoa, I've never heard that, like Guide Me, O Thou Great Redeemer. I had never heard of before this summer, literally, when I was planning on what to put on there. So that was a really great discovery. And so it was a lot of fun. And then I played all the organ parts myself. A couple of the songs have strings on them, which my producer did for me. And then on most of the songs I do a little bit of harmony too, because I thought that would kind of spice it up a little bit since I don't have a choir or anything. Although on one of the songs on Lead Kindly Light, my producer and his wife sang on that as well. So I have like my own little backup choir on that one, which was a lot of fun. It turned out really well.
Yeah, the whole album from the beginning to the end turned out very, very, very well. I was very impressed.
Thank you.
The photos also impressed me too. Where was this were these photos in your church or in another church?
It was, sorry, I'm like in my dark kitchen right now.
Don't worry.
Trying to do, hold on, my little boy needed something. Hey, just take that, please, okay? Just take that. It's my friend, okay? Good night, sweetie. Sorry.
Don't worry, you don't have to. Don't worry, you don't have to say sorry. We always have these informal times with the. We also have these informal times.
This is just life. I'm sorry. So the question was, where were the photos?
The question was, where was the photos taken? Because the church is. Was it in is this the church where you played the organ?
This is not the church where I play the organ. This is actually where I took organ lessons, though. So this is at the Episcopal Church here in my town in Wyoming, and they actually have two churches. So they have a larger one where they, have their normal services, and then this one, this little white church, was built in the early 1900s. I'm not sure which year. But that was the first one that was built, and then they kind of outgrew it, but then they kept it, and so it's really neat. They'll have weddings there and different events. But it's funny because they call it the poker church, because I guess they got the money to build the church from the winnings of a poker game, and so they call it the little white poker church. And so I just thought it's such an iconic look, just a little white chapel, and so I thought that was really nice, and it worked out perfectly, because I just wanted it to be like someone could just look at the photo and just know right away, like, oh, this is church music, So it worked out great.
Yeah, it didn't evoke for me. It didn't evoke for me looking at the church and say this is church music. What evoked for me was something much more greater, because
good.
What I mean greater is that I've seen a lot of other recordings by church organists, like Virgil Fox, for one. Of course, I'm talking about the masters. Virgil Fox
Right.
in the Royal Albert Hall in London, of which I went a long time ago in my first youth. I'm talking about in 1985, 1986. And then there were other organ music in Spain, where in Galicia, in the Basque country, where my ancestors were from. There were also many other albums of church music where they would show the church and the organ. Even Lourdes.
Oh, nice.
Even Lourdes had the same thing. And one that really caught my attention. I don't remember the name of the organist. This was recorded in Russia in the 1980s when it was the Soviet Union. There was this organist, I don't remember the name offhand. But when I was in Europe in the 80s, I was there in the 70s, when I was in the 80s, this organist was very famous throughout the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe. In other words, throughout Russia and Eastern Europe. She was able to record many church musics for the state record company Melodia. And she would go to many churches all over Russia, the ones that were allowed to remain open during the communist regime. And it was during this time that she would record many, many, many hits. Not, when I mean by hits, I mean successes in organ music, and even in churches that were obscure. And some of them looked like the church here in Wyoming, others were much more bigger. Unfortunately, I did not get the recordings when I was in Europe. I wish I would have had the recordings. I'm trying to get the recordings from distant relatives in Russia, because she was a very obscure organist. In fact, she was
very interesting.
In fact, she was never allowed.
She was able to play.
She was able to record, but she was never allowed to leave the Soviet Union.
Okay. That's very interesting, huh?
So
probably pretty rare, yes,
So I was thinking how you recorded all of this, and also some of the singing that you did too, which was really great. I loved it. In addition to the inspiration, had it ever occurred to record some videos of the CD?
Like music videos?
Yes, like in the church playing the organ or anything like Diane Bish.
Yeah, I want to get to work on that, actually. I've been trying to kind of figure out how to do that. So that's my next project. So stay tuned for that. I'm hoping I can get a few videos made. Several of the songs. I think that would be really nice. So that's my goal. It's now that I got the recording and the CD and everything, I've got that all done. I can mark that off my list, and then I can go on to videos. Yeah. So
you have. I'm gonna see which one I really loved here. What I loved here of all of them was "Holy, Holy, Holy," and I also loved the one that "Oh God, Beyond All Praising." And of course, I liked the other one called "Jesus, My Lord, My God, My All." They were really great. How are you able? Well,
Thank you.
how are you able to select some of this sacred music for an album?
Well, it was kind of, I started by just making a big list of, as I would think of different hymns, I would go play at Mass and I'd think, oh yeah, I really like that one that I played yesterday, so I just write them down over the course of several months. And then, so I had a whole bunch, and then I was kind of able to I don't know, think more of what I was aiming at with the album, and I was trying to pick hymns that really gave a really good overview of Christianity and just what we believe. And so I was really looking at the text and making sure that it was really putting forth really solid theology, and just because I figure, people are going to be listening to this, they're going to be hearing the words, and maybe they'll be singing along, and I really want it to be something that'll help them grow in their faith, because that's what the purpose of a hymn is to help people grow in their faith and to learn their faith. And it's one of those things you learn with music so much better because it kind of sticks in your head rather than just reading something from a book. And so I thought this is going to be hopefully be really helpful, for people to learn in their faith. And so I wanted to, it's kind of hard to explain, but just different hymns have different structures, and I kind of went through to see, some of them will have a refrain, but then some of them will just have 4 verses straight through. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Things like that. And so I kind of wanted to do mix and match that, because it was kind of difficult, for example, Holy, Holy, Holy. Mm-hmm. That's just 4 verses straight through. And I've always loved that hymn. I think it's so powerful, and I love how it talks about the Trinity, and I just think it really gives a great, it just explains the Trinity really well. And so I thought, this is going to be great. And I went to record it, and I thought, man, I don't want this to be really boring, just the same 4 verses over and over. And so it really was challenging. It was surprisingly challenging for me to work on it, because I thought it was going to be pretty easy. Play the organ part, record the voice. But I thought, man, I need to make it a little bit more interesting, because as I was preparing for this album, I would listen to different recordings, and all the recordings that I would find were choirs singing them. And really, that's how it should be. That's the ideal, And so with a choir, there's so many interesting things they can do. With one verse, they'll have just the women sing, and then the next verse, just the men will sing, or maybe one verse they'll have it a cappella. And so it just really gives a different feel, for each verse. And so I thought, man, how could I do that, with just me singing by myself? And so that's when I started to play around with different harmonies. And so on some of them, I didn't do, I just sing just by myself, I guess, on one verse, and then the next verse I'd add a little 2-part harmony, and then some of the songs that kind of went a little crazy, and I'm singing 4-part harmony at some point. But that was a really big challenge for me, to try to figure out how to make it really beautiful and really, I guess, interesting to listen to. For people, but I tried to pick hymns that had just the music had really good harmony and that would sound really nice. And actually, speaking of that, I am going to, after Christmas and everything, I'm going to start working on a music book that'll feature some of these hymns and maybe some other ones that didn't make it on the album, but it's going to be a music book for female choirs. And so, because a lot of churches only have 3 or 4 women that are singing. And I thought that would be so beautiful if they could sing the harmonies to these hymns, and it would really just add a lot to what they think, is just kind of a regular old hymn, kind of give it new life. So that's just something I'm working on for the future. But yeah, it was really kind of interesting. And then I just kind of went through to see, as I was planning which ones to do, I was kind of trying to see, some of them are a little bit more upbeat, and then some are more calm and meditative. So I wanted to have a mix of upbeat and downbeat, I guess. Is that the right word? I don't know.
No, don't worry. You're doing great.
Yeah. So some are more joyful and some are just a little bit more relaxing, I guess you could say. And so, I wanted to have a good mix of that. And I wanted to have, I kind of figured from the beginning I wanted to have 10 tracks for several different reasons. And a big one being, I have bought so many CDs before that are like 14 songs on them. And I only end up listening to about 9 of them. Like, I feel like they just kind of like added a few songs that weren't that good just to have more tracks. And this has happened so many times. But then it seems like the CDs that I really, really like, they're shorter. And they'll only have 9 or 10 songs. And I don't know, I guess they only picked the very best ones. And that made it a really good CD. So I decided just keep it at 10 and, just do really well on those ones. So hopefully, everyone will like every single song on there. They won't be skipping anyone. But yeah, it really just kind of came along, and plus I figured I'm going to have future albums too. So the ones that didn't make it on there, hopefully will make it on a future album, because there's so many good hymns out there. It's just really, really hard to decide. But I had a lot of fun doing it, and as I just kind of played through each one, I could just kind of feel it. I could, I just kind of get this feeling. It's just so inspirational. Some of them, especially, just really, I guess it sounds a little bit cheesy, but as I played and sang some of them, just kind of preparing to record them, I could just kind of feel the Holy Spirit with some of them. And I just think, wow, this is really powerful music. So I just really enjoyed working on it. And I hope that, I hope it'll make a difference in some people's lives. And I just figured with some of these hymns that I had never heard before, I figured, okay, I'm a church organist, and I've never heard of this before. So I guarantee you there's a lot of people out there who have not heard some of these hymns. So, and some people have told me like, oh, I haven't heard this since I was a little kid. And so it's just, I think that's really nice. And I hope people can listen to it with their families. And I've been listening to it with my kids, and they think it's really funny to hear mommy's voice coming from the speakers. And so when I first got the CDs in the mail, they said, oh, let's listen to it. And it was so sweet, because when Holy, Holy, Holy came on, they both started singing along. I have 2 little boys, and they both started singing along to Holy, 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 and it was so sweet hearing these 2 little voices singing it. And I thought, oh, this is why I did it, I want kids out there to learn these hymns. I want everyone to learn them, families, maybe they can all sing along together, who knows.
Actually, when I first received your CD, I heard everything in order to prepare for this interview. But at the same time, I listened to it. I'm not a good singer. I don't pretend to be a good singer. I've tried, and they've thrown everything at me. But I would listen to these hymns or listen to music from the organ, and regardless, it's not cheesy. It's just that you feel that tranquil presence. I've had it with every CD and LPs and even EPs that I have been exposed to or that I've had of all over the world. I've even been in churches in Europe, even one in Quito, Ecuador. My wife and I went to Quito, Ecuador. She has her sister lives in Ecuador, and we were there. And so I allowed my wife to have her sister time. I was taken by many of the people of the government, the tourist department, to many of the different churches, as well as the different sports arenas. But the sports arena, I'm a sports fan, but that's another issue. I went to many of the churches, and they had organists, even playing Baroque music. Many people don't believe it, but Latin America, South and Central America, produced a lot of Baroque music in the 16th and 17th century. and 18th century.
Neat.
And I heard I heard one organist. This is in the church in Old Quito. Quito is like founded in the 1600s, and they had this church of the 1600s, and nobody can photograph inside the church, but government rule.
Wow.
But hired the organist. She had let me see. She had one of the hymns, "Holy, Holy, Holy," without the singing, and then she started going into Bach's "Jesu Joy of Man's Desire," and then broke into Adeste Fideles, and then into other Baroque music of the Baroque composers of the Spanish colonial period.
Wow.
Plus some. I think I'm trying to remember the name in English. Partitures, compositions of Bach that were lying around there in Quito. They keep discovering new compositions, and they keep recording them on CDs. And I keep getting them, and I listen to all of them. I listen to every song on a CD. And that also includes the CDs with the organs. I listen to it because you get the tranquility. You get close to God. I'm not criticizing other music that devotes themselves to God, like the rock music or pop rock or whatever that is used to devote to Christ. But many times I've ended up going to your type of music, visiting your videos on YouTube. To my public, please buy the CD of Love's Divine, All Loves Excelling, and also visit Whitney Maslak's YouTube channel, where you could hear a lot of the polyphony, Gregorian chants, and even the classical organ music. And I would hear all of them, and I would feel tranquil. In other words, your interpretations remind me of these other greats, like Virgil Fox, like the Russian organist that I told you about. I don't remember the name, but one day we'll find the name and I'll show you. And the other organist that I heard while in Europe. Even here in Miami, the Church of the Little Flower in Coral Gables once had one. I'm talking about, again, almost 40 years ago, the 1980s, when I had black hair and black mustache. But they had the Church of the Little Flower in Coral Gables had one of the greatest organists. And the guitarists, the duo, they would do, after the Mass, they would do Bach, they would do Handel, they would do Vivaldi in organ.
Wow.
And I was like, in fact, it is this type of music that inspires me to do many things. When you listen to Bach and Handel, you're getting closer to God. And that's what I've also liked about your music. I can't sing it, but I do feel it.
And well, thank you. That's a huge compliment. Thank you so much.
Okay, now you say you're a church organist, but this is not the church where you play the organ. Where are you an organist in? We're in Wyoming, and it's in Cody, right? Right. Yeah. So it's right outside of Yellowstone National Park. Yeah.
My church is called St. Anthony's, and I've been it's the church where I grew up, and so that's really special to be able to play the organ there. And I've been playing there for almost 11 years, so it's been really nice. I started out as a cantor when I was in high school and sang in the choir and everything like that. And then it was after I graduated college, I moved back here and, just wanted to be involved in the church somehow. And so I had I don't know why, I had been thinking about the organ. I just thought it was an interesting instrument, but I didn't know anything about it. And so I emailed our priest one day and I said, hey, would you have a need for me to play? I'm interested in learning how to play. I play the piano right now, but I'd like to learn how to play the organ. And I guess they really needed someone to play right then. And so he said, yes, please, I'd love you to. So it worked out really well, started taking lessons, and I had a really wonderful teacher who he actually has been at this church where I got the pictures taken. He's been the organist there for like 55 years or something crazy like that. And just wonderful, wonderful, kind man. And he built the pipe organ there and just is a huge wealth of knowledge. So I couldn't have asked for anything better, you know. And so that was really great. Just learning that. It was such a huge challenge to take on, though. You know, I guess I was just kind of naive when I started, because I thought, oh, I played a piano, like, how different could it be, you know? And I remember sitting down at my first organ lesson thinking, oh man, what have I gotten into? Like, I have to play with my feet too? Are you kidding? It was just so funny. And so it's such a different instrument than piano. I still love piano a lot, but it is way different. And so that really took some getting used to. Like, there's just such a different feel to it, totally different technique. And so even though they look similar, they just are very, very different instruments. So, but I've just really enjoyed it over the years, and I've actually met a lot of great organists online too, and so that's been a lot of fun, just learning, you know, from different people, and they'll share music with me, and it's a lot of fun. It's a really nice. There's a really nice online community for organists, and I try to help other people out who are wanting to learn or just starting out too. So it's just nice to kind of help people out, because it's a huge learning curve, you know, and a lot of churches, you know, they either don't have an organist, or, you know, someone says like, oh, we desperately need an organist. I don't know what I'm doing though, please help. And so it's just nice, you know, that other very experienced organists will jump in and help them.
Well, actually, my understanding, because I'm not a musician, I'm more of a journalist, but I do have a sort of like a command of the music. My understanding is that before the person learns to become an organist, they start with the piano, and then with the piano they graduate to the organ. Of course, the organ is definitely going to be a very difficult instrument. Now you have the foot with the pedals, and then you also have the keys. And in addition to the keys and the foot pedals, you also have the pipes. And it depends on the church. St. Anthony's of Cody, I don't know it yet. I hope one day to visit Wyoming and visit Cody, and maybe visit St. Anthony's with my wife. And also visit this other Episcopal church, the Poker Church. But the churches that I know, like the ones here in Florida, there was one I knew in Ohio a long, long time ago. I'm talking about when I was a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old in the 60s, which is going really, really. They had really, really big pipes and everything. But my biggest memory was Europe in the 1970s, in Switzerland and Germany, and of course Italy, Spain, and the pipe organs and everything. And then in the 1980s, when I went back to Spain, and also into France with the ancestral realms, and went to the churches. The organ was really the center of the church, along with the liturgies, and you could see the pipes, you could see the pedals, you could see everything. And I saw this in Galicia, for those who don't know Galicia is a Spanish province. It's one of the places where it has the greatest churches, and they even have liturgical music in Galician, which is a Portuguese dialect. The Basque Country, which is divided between Spain and France, has another language in and of itself, the Basque language, and the liturgy in Basque also. They've even done some of the Christmas oratorio in Basque, which is very difficult, and the organ. Excellent. And who can never forget some of the churches I went through in Lourdes, France. Beautiful. And when I hear this, I remember this. Who knows? Wonderful. Since I talked about Russia, maybe one day, in addition to going back to the ancestral lands and visiting Wyoming, I might one day make a visit to Russia, now that they're reopening a lot of churches, and there are a lot of more churches and a lot of organists there playing religious music. And you could get more religious music now in this century than you could get in the 20th century.
Absolutely.
Because in the 20th century, you could only get like an EP or a 45 or 33 from Russia and Eastern Europe at that time, and it was very, very, very rare. Now you could get it like we get them here, and of course, who can ever forget the organ music in Ecuador? With all the Baroque music, Pachelbel, Telman, Bach, Handel, Vivaldi. And of course the local composers there too. What more could I have asked with this type of music? Where can we find Love's Divine and All Loves Excelling?
So if you just go on my website, it's just whitneymaslak.com. It's just right on there. It's also available on iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon, all the online places you can buy music. It's on there too. So, I always tell people if you want to get an actual CD, like this, I got one too, go on my website, I'll autograph it, I'll mail it to you with a little note. And, but, I know some people just like to listen to music on their phone or something. So you can also just get a digital download from any of those streaming websites. And it's also available on Spotify too. I know some people really enjoy listening on Spotify, so it's available on there, so you can't miss it. And, it makes great Christmas presents too, so I'm sure that there's somebody out there in your life who would enjoy this for Christmas.
No,
so.
Actually, I have one for myself, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. Like I have it along with all of my other collections of organ music in CDs, and of course the ones I've accumulated in LP, EP, and 45s. And the CDs, I had them all. I even got some of the CDs from Philips of Germany to replace some of the albums that I lost in Hurricane Andrew a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
And of course, the ones from Melodia Russia. Melodia is now releasing Gregorian chants and organs and organ music. And I also have one from the, not the Santo Domingo de Silos, but there was another group of monks from Galicia.
Oh, okay.
Where they have everything. Yeah, Galicia and also the Basque Country has been producing with their local labels some of the church music in organ and in Gregorian chants. And I'm getting my hands, and of course I don't skip it. I listen to it.
Right.
I listen to the CDs at home. When I'm at work or when I'm in the car, I put on the YouTube or I put on the Spotify because I conserve all of my CDs.
Yeah, it's handy to have like a few different ways to listen. It makes it a little bit easier depending on where you are. So, but yeah, it's available on Spotify too. So, like I said, you can't miss it.
Yeah.
So
I do want to congratulate you on such a great CD and on your
thank you
and on your intentions, which have been successful in promoting polyphony, Gregorian chants, and Baroque music at a time when we need it the most. We needed
absolutely. Thank you so much.
We need it the most, and I hope that you are able to record more hymns or even record Baroque music or Baroque Christmas music. I will gladly add it to my collection.
Good.
I want to say to everybody, I'm going to say goodbye to my public, and then I'm going to be saying goodbye to you later. So don't hang up on me. To everyone here, from the heart of Miami, I'm not in the city, I'm in the countryside. I'm right between Miami and Naples. Really in the forest area. So really in the forest areas. In other words, I'm not in the city, and I'm able to enjoy some of this great tranquility here, along with all the other churches that surround us. To Wyoming and to the rest of the world, this is Roberto Alvarez-Galloso. This is our Christmas special for and for the English-speaking world, and also for everyone else. May God bless you and keep you until the next time. And may God bless you, Whitney, your family,
Thank you.
and your noble state of Wyoming, which I have to go through. I already have a bucket list of places where I have to visit. Wyoming is Wyoming is one of them. Ecuador, I have to go back to the church music. Argentina, I've been invited to Argentina, and in the south of Argentina, Patagonia, there's also a lot of church organists there too, which I want to go see the church music. And of course,
that'd be great.
And of course, the ancestral realms of Galicia and the Basque Country of Spain and France, and to top it all off, Russia. Especially the churches.
Absolutely.
I wanted to go there during the World Cup of 2018, but that's another issue. But I did want to go. But I did want to remember one other thing. Before leaving, I just remembered that this is like a PS. When I was in China during the Olympics of 2008, I was taken to a church in China. This church is not used for services. It's been out of commission. It's been closed since about 70 years ago. But, and this is a but, this church has been used for recording of organ music as well. One night I was there for a concert in organ music. I don't remember I don't remember the musician. If the one from Russia was very obscure, this one was much more obscure than I could remember. But I do remember that she was there playing Bach, Handel, Vivaldi. I was in another,
Wow.
I had forgotten that I was in China and I thought I was in another world.
Wow.
And it was an Orthodox church. There was a time when the Russians were there and other Europeans were there, and they left their churches, and there was this Orthodox church, and it had this very, very powerful organ.
Wow.
Later on, my interpreters told me that during Christmas,